Well, joining me today is Lynne Franklin. We're talking persuasion GPS. Lynne, I'm so thankful to have you in this discussion today. And I'm looking forward to learning more about not only the work that you do, but your new book. So let's start with that. You've just launched a new book. Tell us about the work you've done and some of the things that would be helpful for us to know about.
Hey, well, I'm excited to be here and thanks for hosting today, Dean. Okay, persuasion GPS. The idea is get to where you want to go faster because the truth is most of us go into business situations and we've done similar things before and we think, okay, I can just wing it and everything will be fine. And usually about 5 minutes into that, things take a left turn. We weren't quite sure it was going to go in that direction and we're tap dancing as fast as we can. So I thought, how can I take the neuroscience of persuasion, so all the stuff that goes on in the brain, and actually create a system that people can use to be more persuasive? And before you think persuasion, oh yeah, make people buy stuff they don't want to buy and manipulate people and use car salesman stuff, let me give you my definition of persuasion, which is this: to present your ideas in a way that people can see them, hear them, and feel them, and then make a good decision about whether or not what you're proposing is what they ought to do. And if it is, to say yes faster. And if it's not, to say no. But in the meantime, you built such goodwill with them that should they ever need what it is that you've got, they'll remember and contact you. Or if they run into someone else who needs it, they'll refer you. So persuasion is not about getting everybody to say yes to you. It is about helping people make good decisions. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to make this good, because I'm all right, I'm going to toss in neuroscience nerd nuggets throughout our conversation. And here's the first one. People's short-term memories can only hold three ideas. And that's it. After that, their short-term memories are full. I thought, okay, if I'm going to create some kind of system, you can only have three things in it. Because otherwise, people will be overwhelmed. And it was actually an NSA Illinois program I attended where the presenter was talking about you need to be able to present what you do and put it on the back of a napkin. I thought, okay, so how can I do this persuasion thing on the back of a napkin? And that's where I came up with GPS. So in my world, GPS stands for goals, because magic things happen in your brain and in the world when you set goals well. P is for people, not just knowing who they are, but how their brains work so you can do a better job of connecting with them. And S is for showcase. Showcase what's in it for them in a language that they understand. So that became the platform for, hey, this whole thing about persuasion, how can we chunk it down into bite-sized pieces and then help people do these things so they can do a better job of connecting with others and everybody can benefit? So that's kind of the foundation of all the stuff I'm doing these days.
And so then bring us then from all of that experience that you've had with helping leaders be more persuasive. Tell us about how that informed and some of what you've done now with your new book.
And I have to laugh because NSA Illinois has been instrumental in my growth, and it was probably about, geez, 10 years ago when I was thinking maybe I should do more speaking because it had been my job. I'd grown up doing something called investor communications, where I taught CEOs and CFOs of public companies how to talk to their investors and their shareholders and their people about what was going on in their company. And somebody said to me, you should be a speaker about this. And I said, I don't need to speak on stuff. I can teach other people how to speak. And they said, no, you're kind of full of crap. And oh, really? Right. And so I found the Speakers Academy program and I thought, why don't I take that and see whether or not I should be a speaker? And so signed up for it, and I have to laugh because the first program was taught by a speaker who also happens to be an intellectual property attorney, Triggle. And he talked about having intellectual property. And I remember sitting in that workshop thinking, there's no way in heck I'm ever going to have any intellectual property. And so now I sit here with that, having my own intellectual property. So thank you, Russ, and thank you, Speakers Academy, for making me think bigger than I would have been able to think on my own. And frankly, standing in front of an audience who either wants to be there and is excited or doesn't want to be there and feel they have to be there. And how do you engage different types of audiences? Those were things I learned from Speakers Academy and frankly by hanging out with people in NSA Illinois, so I can do a better job of these things and have more value for the clients I serve.
That's a great story, and a similar one for me is, my first engagement with National Speaker Association was through our Illinois Speakers Academy, and very similarly, right, it begins to open up your view of what's possible, the different avenues that people take in building their business and bringing value to their customers, and just a really formative experience. So it's really cool that that was the start for you as well, and it's a great just such a great program for really not only I think equipping people with tools, but also connecting them with people. I so much appreciate the what we call in NSA the spirit of Cavett, which is all about helping each other build a bigger pie. How do we uh, translate the expertise and experiences that we've had to help the up and coming, the new people, or the other longstanding people just build better businesses? It's such a spirit of generosity here. I'm sure that you've regularly experienced that yourself.
Well, and I have to laugh too, because perhaps like others who have been in Speakers Academy or have been in learning situations, I looked around at the other people who were there or the people who were leading the topics for each session. And I thought, geez, they're all doing better than I am, and they know stuff that I don't know. And and there were times when I would use this learning opportunity as an opportunity to beat myself over the head because I wasn't where I wanted to be. And so if you're thinking about taking programs like that or coming to any of the NSA Illinois programs, let me ask you to take a deep breath because this is such a warm, inviting group. People want to see you do well, and nobody's there just to blow their own horn. And the idea is take a look at what other people are doing and use it to be inspired instead of beat up on yourself. When somebody stands up and talks about something I've never done before, yeah, there may be that couple of seconds. And I only allow myself a couple of seconds. Oh, geez, I should have thought of that or I should be doing that. It's like, take a deep breath
Mhm.
and breathe into the possibilities of it. And ultimately, it all boils down to if somebody else can do it, and if it's the right thing for me to do, then I can do it too. And I don't have to do it on my own. Hey, this person has just stood up and spoken about it. Reach out to them because people in NSA Illinois and NSA in general, if you're a member, they want to support you, and you can get somebody's time for a short phone conversation or a short Zoom meeting to ask them questions about things. So it's a great place to get support because other people are just as happy when you make progress as you are.
Yeah, and I want to underscore something you said there, and that is for any of us that are, maybe been in the business for a while or getting into it and wanting to, keep getting better. Whether it's an in-person program, an online program, or somebody that you're having a conversation with, using those moments as inspiration is what I heard, rather than maybe thinking of them as instruction. Knowing that
Mhm.
each of our business is a little bit different, where we're at in our journey is unique, and the vision that we have is going to be personal to us. Taking those things that others have learned and say, oh, I can take this bit here and use that in a way that fits rather than feeling the overwhelm of thinking that they just shared 8 great things and I've got to start implementing all of those right now. And people's brain, kind of snaps a little bit. Use the inspiration and don't think of it as instruction. Just great
Well,
advice.
I have to laugh because one of the questions I routinely ask in a virtual or in-person program after the presenter has shared information with us is, okay, uh, what's the biggest mistake that you make in trying to implement this stuff? Or where should I start? Because I still need that stuff because you're right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can get overwhelmed, leads to, self beat up and nothingness. I
Hmm.
can, once I'm overwhelmed, I can sit there and choose not to do anything. But, so my way in is, okay, so how do I avoid mistakes and where do I start?
Hmm. Yep. One step in front of the other. That's cool. So let's take that and walk me through some of the client work. Tell me about your clients. Tell me about some of the problems that they are working to overcome, and some of the insights that you take them through, and how you go about doing the work that you do.
And thanks for asking. I'll talk about a client I am in the process of serving. And this happens to be the leadership team for a company that does healthcare coding. Thank God they do it so I don't have to. And so it's a totally remote workforce. And once a year, they bring together their leadership team and they asked me if I could help them. And I said, okay, let's start with the data. Let's figure out what your biggest issues are. So I did a survey in advance of their 25 leaders and asked simple questions like, what's the one thing that if you did it better would really make your life easier? Second question was, who are the toughest people for you to work with? And three, what are the most difficult situations for you to face? And so I do the research in advance so I know how to tailor my program. And in this instance, it became the thing that I could really use help with is better connecting and collaborating with people in different parts of the organization because we don't get to hang out at the water cooler. The most difficult people for them to work with are people who like to be large and in charge and control and abrupt. And because this is healthcare and everybody needs to be nice. And third was, how do I get somebody to work with me on a project when they're ghosting me? And after having that data, I sat down and took a look at my persuasion GPS process and thought, okay, how can we use this time that we get to spend together to actually solve a problem that they have? And as we pull them together, one of the things we created was an avatar of this horrible person, whom we named Karen, who is a 55-year-old woman who, very controlling and very abrupt, and now is ghosting them on a project they were supposed to be working with. So we created Karen and made her over the top. And then we talked about the goals that we were going to create to have this conversation with Karen to break through this and the things that we were going to say. So ultimately, at the end of the day, at the end of that particular session, they didn't just walk away with these ideas. They had implemented them together to solve a problem that everybody had. And it was one of those things where, and I'm sure all of you as speakers have run into this, there's so much stuff I want to share, but people are so engaged with what I'm talking about, I'm not going to get through everything. So it became a session of, okay, we can get through the G for goals, because magic things happen in your brain and in the world when you set goals well. The P for people, understanding who they are and how their brains work. We got through that stuff, but we did not get to showcase what's in it for them. And so I thought, let's go where the group wants to go rather than where I want to push them. And they were so enthused about this stuff that they've invited me back to actually do a wrap-up program for them just on the S for Showcase, which I'll be doing virtually. And this is the great stuff. People saw what was in it for them and wanted more. And as a presenter, it just makes your heart warm.
I love it. Right. So the wisdom there definitely is making sure that, especially in that workshop format, I mean, there is an expectation from our audience that we're going to be able to accomplish something. And that's different than maybe a 45-minute keynote where I'm inspiring or awakening them to something, but we may not be able to certainly solve something in that moment. But
Mhm.
that workshop, there is an expectation of some transformation, some sort of solving that's going to occur. And the power of involving people in that process that's relevant to them. And I really appreciate you used the word tailoring by doing practical research. And tailoring, I see as a key word because it's different than feeling like as a trainer, a speaker, facilitator, we're reinventing things every time. You probably didn't invent something new, but you made sure that anything that was being done is framed in the world that's relevant to them. And that's really the power of tailoring, and
Mhm.
makes such an impression on the client, right? It's
Mhm.
not an off the shelf solution. I hear a lot of clients say we really don't want to bring somebody in who's just using an off the shelf solution because we have unique things that we're facing or that we're dealing with.
Mhm. Well, and then for me, the blessing was people got so engaged that we spent a lot of time on stuff. One of the things that we spent a lot of time on was and the thing that people get most excited about when I do programs like this is the whole personality aspect of it. And so that led me to design my own personality inventory, which I call the Mind Reader Method. So MIND is my acronym for M is for movers, the people who get crap done and like to be large and in charge and are afraid of giving up control. I is for igniters, the people who love to inspire other people and have other people follow them and are afraid that they're going to be ignored and they don't know how to get you there. N is for nicers, the people who want everybody to get along and work together as a team and are afraid of conflict and being left out. And D is for detailers, the people who love detail, who want to know how things work, and at the same time are afraid of making mistakes, so they want more data, and it can be hard to get them to make decisions because there's always more information they need. And as we were sorting through that part of the session, people were sitting there saying, oh, the igniter, yeah, that's our CEO. You know, oh, the mover, yeah, that's our CFO. And people were laughing and having a good time with it and applying it right there, which is such a good time for all of us. The idea of walking away with stuff that you can use right away and
Mm.
having fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, I love the practicality, and it's so cool. The work that you're doing is related to something I think every person wants. That is to be more relevant, more influential, and more persuasive. And so those
Mhm.
tools really can truly make people's lives better because they're able to be more impactful and more successful. So I appreciate the work that you're doing. If people want to learn more about your work, your book, your inventory, where should they go? How should they connect?
Well, the my website address is about as easy as it gets, which is Lynne, Lynne, Franklin.com. So go there, find out more about it there. I'm also on LinkedIn and all of the other good places. Or, and if you feel like being old school, there's always my phone number,
Mhm.
which is 847-729-5716. Just like you, Dean, I will talk to anybody about what I do, and my goal my line is, I know what I know what I don't know, and I won't do what I can't do well. And so when somebody comes to me, it's like, can I be a resource to you? And if I can, here's how that looks. And if I can't, hey, I know a bunch of other really great speakers. Let me connect you with them.
Yeah, really powerful. Lynne Franklin, thank you so much for sharing your insights, and congratulations on the new book and the work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for letting me hang out with you. Hey, and all of you speakers out there, good luck, keep going. And if you need support, reach out to other people in NSA Illinois.
Great words. Thanks, Lynne.